Wonder how we make turn-based combat in Pikachu's adventure? Today I will show you how to make a simplified version of turn-based combat. Random encounter is out of scope for now, but we will have it in the future tutorial. And at the end of this tutorial, I will show you what really happens in our Pokemon's adventure game. First of all, I'm going to show you what we will achieve at the end of this tutorial. So here, when I press ZR, I can start a fight with the Pidgey, and there will be a dialogue showing that white Pidgey appeared. When I press A, now I will see the options which are fight and heal. And if I press A here, Pikachu will use Thunder Shock and decrease Pidgey's HP. And next is that the Pidgey will use Gust and Pikachu's HP will also decrease. And this goes on until one of the characters blackout. And to achieve this, there are two parts of this tutorial. The first part is to plan all the states. The planning is very essential when you need to expand this turn-based combat idea to a more complicated one. And the second part is the implementation. I will show you how to change that plan into reality. Let's go. The first thing that we have to do is that we need to plan our turn-based battle. We have one no battle state and 5 other battle states, which are battle start, player turn, enemy turn, player won, and player lost. But because during the player turn, there are multiple actions that we can take. We can further break down the player turn into player start, player attack, and player heal. Next, I'm going to show you how we will change between these states. So the first one is how do we change from no battle into battle start. For this tutorial, I will start the battle by pressing ZR. But of course, you can change this into random encounter or touching the enemies. Next, we will start our player's turn when a button is pressed. At this stage, we will show a few options to the player. The player can press either A or B for attacking or for healing, respectively. And if a player decides to go into the attack phase, what will happen is that we will decrease the Pidgey's HP. On the other hand, if a player decides to go to the healing phase, we will increase the Pikachu's HP. Okay, then how to end the player phase? Let's say on the player attack route, if a user press A and the Pidgey's HP is greater than 0, we will go to the enemy turn. But if Pidgey's HP is 0, we will go to player 1 state. What about player heal state? In this one, there is only one possible path, which is going to the enemy turn after a player has pressed A. Now we are at enemy turn. What will happen is that we will decrease Pikachu's HP. And here there are two parts. If Pikachu's HP is greater than 0, when a button is pressed, we will go back to player start. If Pikachu's HP is 0, we will go to the player lost state. Okay, what will happen when the player won? So here we will show a dialogue. And when a player presses A, we will go back to the no battle state. Then the last state is player lost. For this one, it is quite simple. We will trigger game over or restart. And yeah, that's all for the planning phase. Let's look at my current setup. So right now we have 2 counters to store Pidgey's HP and also Pikachu's HP. For the Pidgey's HP, I set the maximum value of HP to be 30, so the starting value should be 30, and the count range is from 0 to 30. The count timing should be on change from 0, so that we can make sure if a Pidgey is attacked, we will reduce the amount of HP only once. What about Pikachu? We also have a similar settings for Pikachu, except that the maximum value of HP is 25. So I have to change the starting value to be 25 and the count range to be from 0 to 25 instead. And here I have prepared a few wormhole entrance and exits here. For the Pikachu's HP, I use R for changing the HP amount, and I'm using wormhole S for reading the Pikachu's HP value. And for Pika, I'm using U to change the HP value, and V for reading the Pikachu's HP. On the current setup, I have already prepared the UI. For the UI, I have enemy's HUD, Pika's HUD, and also Pikachu's texture and Pikachu's character here. Here, there will be a dialog box. To set up HUD, you can check my HUD tutorial. In short, I'm using this head node-on and I connect a box to the head node-on. I connect other UI components to this box. And I use free slide connectors to move the UI components around. For example, for this Pika's HUD, I'm adding 1.1 to X value so that I can shift this to the right. Yeah. And in the current settings, you may have noticed that right now the battle is not even started, but I can see all the battle HUD here, but don't worry about this, we will fix them later. During the battle, there are in total 7 states. The first one is battle start, where we show which enemy is showing. The second one is player starts, where we show options. The third one is player attack. The fourth one is player heal. The fifth one is enemy attack. The sixth one is player won, which means that the enemy has fainted. The seventh one is player lost. So yeah, Pika blocked out in this case. To know which state we are at right now, we are going to add a flag node-on for each of them. Yeah, and whenever we are in any of these 7 states, it means that we are in the battle. Next, I'm going to implement each state one by one. We are going to implement the no battle state first. So here we have to make sure that there is no battle HUD showing at all. First, we have to know if we are in the battle or not, and that can be checked by reading all the flag values. Let me use a wormhole exit B to tell if I'm in a battle or not. Now I want the wormhole exit B to output true whenever one of the flags is true. So here I'm going to add wormhole entrance B. And send the signal of each flag into this B entrance. So now when we are in the battle, which means any of these flags are on, the B will output true. Yes. The problem right now is that all the HUDs are shown because there is no input to the visibility. So when should we make this visible? We should make this visible when we are in the battle. So I'm going to connect this wormhole exit B to all of the textures here. Okay, let's take a look. When the battle has not started, there is no HUD. Yes. But when should we exit this no battle state and enter battle start phase? So the first condition must be we are not in any active battle. The second condition, I will just enter the battle when ZR is pressed. So for the first condition, which is there is no ongoing battle, I can use this wormhole exit B and then add not. For the second condition, which is I press ZR to start the battle, I'm going to add a button ZR. I have to go to the settings, change output timing to be on press, close it. Then I will enter the battle start state only if there is no ongoing battle and CR is pressed. So I need AND node on here. No battle, CR is pressed. Then turn on battle start flag. Let's test. So now when I press CR, yeah, the battle will start. And we will end the no battle state. In the battle start state, we have to make sure that we show this text, which is why PG appeared. So when this flag is on, we will have to turn on these textures. And don't forget to connect these textures to the boxes connecting to HUD. Let's try this. When the battle starts, I can see this dialog box. But how to go to the next state, which is player start? To go to the next state, we have to make sure that we are at this flag and A button is pressed. I'm going to add button A. And then AND condition. So when we are in battle start state and button A is pressed, we have to leave the current state, which is battle start, by turning off the flag. And we have to turn on player start flag, which is here. Yeah, okay, let's take a look. So when I press CR, while PG appeared, I press A. Yeah, the text will disappear, but we have to implement the player start next. So when the player turn starts, I have to show these textures. And to do that, I can connect the flag output into these textures. And don't forget to position this texture correctly by connecting these to the HUD boxes. So now, while PG appeared, after I have pressed A, I will see these two options. If I press A here, I will go to the player fight state. But if I press B here, I will go to the player heal state. So let's do the first option now. I'm going to add a button press A and also AND node on. So when this flag is true and button A is pressed, I will turn off the current flag. And then I will move to the player attack state. So the output of this AND should turn on the flag here. But here, let's say, if I'm pressing B instead, if B is pressed during this state, I have to leave this state and then go to the player heal state. So this AND output should turn on the player heal flag. Okay, that's it for the player start phase. Okay, the next state is the player attack. So in this state, we have to show these textures. So again, I'm connecting the flag output into textures input. Also connecting these to the boxes. And then here, because Pikachu has attacked PG, we have to decrease PG's HP. So let's say I want to reduce PG's HP by 5. I'm going to add a -5 here. And I only use this value when this flag is true. So here I need multiplication. And I have to time -5 with the flag value. Then I'm going to send this value to the PG's counter. And at the PG's counter, I'm using wormhole R for changing the counter value. So here I have to send the output here to wormhole entrance R. Okay, so when we enter the attack phase, we will reduce the Pidgey's HP by 5. Next, how do I leave the current state? I have to press button A again. So here I'm copying A button and also AND node on. So we will leave this state when this flag is on and button A is pressed. Which state we are going next depends on Pidgey's HP. So the two possible next states are enemy attack and player 1. The enemy can attack if its HP is greater than 0. We can get Pidgey's HP by using wormhole exit S. When button A is pressed and Pidgey has some HP. Okay, and I'm going to add AND condition. This AND means when we are in the player attack state and button A is pressed and also Pidgey's HP is greater than 0, we will exit the current state by turning off this flag and then turn on the enemy attack flag. But if the HP is 0, I'm going to add not node on here to check that. If enemy HP is 0 and button A is pressed, I'm going to the player 1 state. So I have to turn off the current flag and then go to the player 1 state where we show enemy Pidgey fainted by turning on its flag. And that's it for the player attack state. The next one is player heal state. So in this state, we have to increment Pikachu's HP. So let's say we want to increase Pikachu's HP amount by 20. I'm going to add a constant 20 here. And we only use this value when we are in the player heal state or when this flag is true. So I'm going to add multiplication. And then I'm going to time the flag value with 20. Then I'm going to send this value to the count up port of the Pikachu counter, which is connected by the wormhole U. So I'm adding wormhole entrance U here. And send this amount to wormhole entrance U. So this means when the player heal state starts, we will increase Pikachu's HP by 20. Next, we have to think how to exit the current state and enter the next one. Again, we have to check for button A. So when button A is pressed and this flag is true, we have to exit this state by turning off the flag. And the next possible state is only enemy attack state, right? So this output should turn on enemy attack state, which is here. And before we go to the next state, don't forget to turn on these textures during this state. Yeah, and that's it for the player heal state. Okay, here we are at the enemy attack state. So in this enemy attack state, of course, we have to show these textures. So I'm connecting the flag output to these textures inputs. And then the enemy has to attack the player, right? This means we have to reduce Pikachu's HP. Let's say I will reduce the HP by 10, so I'm going to add a constant -10 here. And then we need a multiplication sign. This means I will only use this value when this flag is true, and I have to send this to the count up port of Pikachu's counter, which is wormhole entrance U. Yeah, so now it means whenever I enter this state, I will reduce Pikachu's HP by 10. Next, we have to make the state transition right. The state transition happens when we press A. So I'm going to copy this A button and add node on again. At this stage, we can either go back to player's turn or enemy 1 turn. And we can determine that by using Pikachu's HP, which is wormhole exit V. So if A is pressed and V is greater than 0, we will go back to the player start state. So connecting this exit V or Pikachu counter value and this value which is flag on and button A is pressed to this. And when this condition is true, we will leave the current state by turning off this flag. And we will go to this state where we show A fights B hue. And I have to turn on the flag there. But if Pikachu's HP has become 0 when A is pressed, we will have to go to the player lost state. So I'm going to add logic not. Here, also another AND. This AND means Pikachu's HP is 0 and button A is pressed and we are in this state. When this happens, we will turn off this flag and then go to player lost state, which is Pika blocked out, by turning on the flag. And that's it for the enemy attack phase. So here is the player 1 state. This one is quite simple. We will show the textures. So it's quite simple here. When button A is pressed, we will leave the battle. So here I need A button and flag on. So when A is pressed, I will turn off the flag. I do not have to turn on any other battle flags again because the battle has ended. At this step, it's also up to you if you want to increase experience points or let's say add some rewards to your character. But to keep this tutorial simple, I will just end the battle. In this state, we will show Pika blacked out. And let's say we want to end the game after 3 seconds. So I'm going to add a timer. And then delay it by 3 seconds. Then after that, I want to retry. Yes. Okay, and these are all the 7 states. Yeah. That's it. This is a long video, but I hope you can modify this and make your own turn-based combat. Before we go, let's go through one round together again. So here if I press ZR, the battle will start and it will show YPG appeared. This is when the first flag is on. But after I press A, now it is player start flag, and we will see two options, fight or heal. And if I press A again, now we will enter player attack phase, where Pidgey's HP is reduced. When I press A again, this time it is enemy's attack phase, and Pika's HP is reduced. This time let me choose B. Yeah, I will heal the Pika HP.
Yeah, Pikachu HP will be increased. Okay, let's continue fighting.
This one, when Pidgey's HP has become 0, we will go to the player 1 state, which is enemy Pidgey fainted. And yeah, we can continue our journey. Okay, let's see what really happens in our Pikachu's adventure game. So here we have some UI modification. We use extending box for the HP bar. And also there are more states in this game. This one is battle start state, and then after that it is player option state. And here actually there are two sub-states. The first one is when the cursor is at fight. The second one is when the player selects run. For the attack, in the code here we do not use the constant value, but we random the damage. We also add a state where the Pikachu's attack can be missed. So I hope this can give you some ideas like how to extend the simple turn-based combat into a more complicated one like this. And in the future tutorial we will show you the random encounter, so make sure to come back. Bye bye and see you next time.